Welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of a special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose. Because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, for her community, and for the generations to come. So, friends, grab you a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our special guest today. And we have a couple of Moses and Bri. Thank you so much for joining our podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very
Hello.
much, Angelina, for allowing us to join. And yes, definitely grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, because we might have a bit of a deep conversation.
Lovely. I love it. Well, before we get started, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourselves to our listeners?
Well, we are Moises and Bri Rico, and we have been together for 12 years. And we have 4 children. People don't believe that all the time, but we do. We have 3 girls and 1 boy, and our boy is already a teenager, which is a whole journey in itself.
Mm,
But we are actually taking on a mission of making marriages great again.
mm.
And we started doing this together. You won't believe it, but just a few months ago, we have our own podcast called Doing It Raw Relationship Goals. And it's been exciting, like just doing this with my best friend.
Yep.
Wonderful. Hey, well, I love that. And I have two grown, my children are all adults now. So I've got two grown adult sons. So I understand navigating the the
Oh,
teenage
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Thank God I came out of it with all my hair, because they do. They do like to test those boundaries. Well,
Hmm.
before we get started, I'd like to start with an icebreaker and just something fun, a fun question. What is your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Mhm.
I'm kind of embarrassed of mine. You already know how. So the funny thing about me is that I like to watch reality TV
Mhm.
about relationships. Because then I'm like, this is what you should do. This is what you can do. Like, no, don't break up. Like, you've got this. And yeah, that's how I unwind. It's
Okay.
kind of strange, but that's my thing.
I guess mine is technically somewhat of reality TV, but more scripted in the sense I watch WWE wrestling and I love the storylines of who becomes champion and all that stuff and the journey to become a champion. So yeah, it looks like we're both into reality TV, but in separate ways.
Yeah. Well, I am like you, Brie, where I like the reality TV as far as like the Housewives, the Real Housewives. I watch the Vanderpump. So I've done all of those series, and I really like after a while, I'm like, okay, I gotta step back and not get too much of that because it's a lot of drama and stuff. But I like it too because it really does show you a lot of like relationship issues, and it helps you kind of look at things and have some content to discuss when you're talking about relationships, like your podcast, talking about
Hmm.
marriage. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our conversation with the two of you. And I'm going to start with this question. What was a defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how did it impact you?
You want me to start?
Yep.
Um, so I think I've recently started realizing that a lot of my childhood has been very impactful in my life. And because I lived my life in survival mode, I had no realization that I went through a lot. So until I met my husband and I started having this healthy relationship with him, my whole like past was just survival mode.
Mhm.
So just realizing that was like a shock to me because I was like, I had no idea that there was so much pain and that everything that I went through affected like my whole future, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, was realizing what I was missing as a kid, and how it transformed me and it shaped me into the man that I used to be, and how I needed to heal that little boy and let him know, like, hey, I got you. Everything's good. I became the person that I needed as a kid. And even though, of course, as a kid, you still wish for that, that might have been the case when you were growing up and things like that. Now that little kid looks up to me and sees, like, hey, your little kids don't have to go through what I'm going through. And funnily enough, that's kind of what got us together in the first place. Because before we became a couple, I had no idea at the time, but she already had a kid. And what I saw in that little kid was me as a little boy, in the sense that, like, this kid potentially will grow up without a father, and that was me when I was 4 years old. I never saw my dad again ever since. And when I met her and saw the little boy, I was like, "Hey, well, that's me, and not in my watch. You're not gonna grow up without a man in a good man in your life." And that's what kind of led us to be together. And ever since then,
But I mean, even like even that is crazy in itself because when we met in college
yeah.
and he was 19 and I was 25 with a 3-year-old boy. So what is a 19-year-old like, trying to be like a superhero over here?
Man.
Yeah, and he's like, I am gonna take on this like stepdad, journey and like start helping all of this. And I was like he was a broke college student
Hmm.
living with his mom. His car was horrible. I was already like, I was going to school, I was working full time, and I had a 3-year-old that I needed to take care of.
Yeah.
So my life was kind of already like in motion, right? And even that in itself, it was like a big challenge of like, hey, I'm older and like you're barely starting. Like you're barely starting your life and I'm already like trying to better my future and my kids. So that was just like years of like a lot of pain in itself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow. And what I appreciate about this conversation as it's unraveling and just kind of coming to the surface, I appreciate that you're two individuals that have acknowledged like we had baggage coming into this
Hmm.
relationship. And I find that amazing and just mouth dropping because I work in child welfare and I've worked with families both broken and coupled, and I've seen the dynamics of what childhood trauma does to a relationship. I've lived it as well. um,
Hmm.
so I'm just like I can't wait to continue to start talking. But so let's do that. Let's talk. Let's just kind of go there if you're comfortable. What was the situation as you guys are discovering like, okay, I've got this trauma because you're not who you were. I think you said
Hmm.
that, Moses. You're not who you were then. Um, but who were you at that moment of the challenge and stuff like that? What was it like for you in your relationship?
We were two lost people looking for what we needed as kids in each other. However, we didn't know that. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to relationships is we have these maybe sometimes certain expectations that are not communicated, and sometimes we don't know how to communicate them, because we really don't know who we are, right? We know what we went through, we know the emotions of it, we know we never want to feel that again, but because we're so focused on not wanting to have that feeling anymore, everything goes to that instead of all the energy that we have is to prevent that feeling from ever happening again, instead of going the route of, well, what do I do want to feel? And how does that look like? What situation does that feeling bring about? Um, like for me, for example, my love language is words of affirmation and touch, right? And I need that to feel connected to my spouse. And my spouse, because of her past, it was kind of hard because it was like, well, all the men in my life that I've been in a relationship with, there was nothing to to give words of affirmations on, and I didn't want them to touch me, and the ones that did touch me, unfortunately, I didn't want them to touch me. So it was one of those dynamics where we had to learn through each other. We had to be curious about each other and of us individually, in, I guess, for the lack of a better term, in a selfish manner, for me to know who I am as a man and how who she is as a woman, and for her to know herself as well, and then come together as a couple. And I think that's where we kind of started to build this stronger and healthier marriage from that point.
Yeah, I mean, if giving you a little bit of perspective, I was sexually abused as a child, and I tell this to a lot of people. I say, when this happens to us, we kind of that is kind of the foundation of where a relationship starts for you. So, as I grew up, I got into relationships kind of feeling like, okay, I need this person to keep me safe from all of these other people, right? So I went into relationships being like, okay, do whatever you want to me. I don't want you to touch me, but I know this is what you have to do so that I can just be safe from everybody else trying to abuse me, right? Which is what he means. Like, that was already like my big trauma, and I had no idea that it was affecting our relationship. So, years after we already had two children, we were married, he became curious and he was like, hey, like, I noticed certain things about you. Like, let's talk about it. He created a super safe space. Like, our children were, with grandma, and we were having a date night. And even though people think date nights are always supposed to be about fun and let's, connect, sometimes it's healing together. So that night, it was healing for me because I was able to tell him, like, hey, I was abused as a child by a sibling, and it's hard for me to let you touch me, and it's hard for me to touch you, and it's hard for me to be like, you're amazing, you're a wonderful man, like all of these affirmations that you need, because I hadn't healed from it.
Mm. Wow. So what were some of the struggles in the beginning? Like, what were some of the things, Moses, that kind of brought you to that realization where you're like, hey, we've been relationshiping for a while, we've got two children, but I'm noticing this and I'm noticing that. What were those things?
I mean, there were a couple. Communication was very hard, and I know if guys listen to this, they may relate to this part as far as me being able to come to her and just let her know, like, hey, I feel a certain way, because she would take it personal. She would take it like, oh, it's my fault. Oh, I'm doing everything wrong. I'm such a bad wife. I'm such a bad mom, and so on and so forth. And it was none of that, right? So communication was one of those things. Our intimacy as well. I think that was the biggest one. Again, my love language is touch. So seeing that gap, that hesitance to have that, right, that connection physically, I was like, something's going on here. I've done everything I could up until that point that I knew of. Um, and like she mentioned, I was like, you know what? Something that I don't know, that I'm not aware of, that I can't see, is going on. It could be something mental, a mental blocker, right? I was ignorant to what it could be. And it was just a matter of taking that one chance of asking, like, hey, did something happen? Because it could have been that nothing happened, right? And but just giving that opportunity to kind of cross out what has happened and what doesn't happen, and just going down the list of whatever circumstances may affect our intimacy. And I just happened to hit it right on the bullseye with, like, hey, did something happen that I don't know of? That, like, hey, maybe, I don't know, you went through something physically in your childhood. Maybe that's why it's affecting our intimacy. And even at that point, before that, she didn't realize that it was affecting our intimacy. It was kind of like a realization for her as well
Mm.
that, oh, I've never saw it that way. I just thought I left my past in the past.
Mm.
So a big thing was being curious about my spouse, noticing her a certain way, and not criticizing, right, but being more curious about her and asking the questions.
Mhm.
And not only that, but also holding space for her to be open to, because she could have simply said like, no, nothing happened. I don't think so. XYZ, I'm just tired. My head hurts, so on and so forth, right?
Well,
I'm overwhelmed. The
it,
kids.
uh,
But no, she was able to disclose that to me, and we were able to work through it as well.
Wow. Wow. And so, Bri, you're in this place now where a space has been created that is safe and you feel safe to kind of let some of those walls down. What were some of the growth or the healing things that you put in place for yourself so that you could be more present in your marriage and more involved and help me meet, the needs of the family and in your relationship?
I think the biggest thing has been working on our communication. I know everybody talks about communication is key, communication is, important, but nobody really tells you how to communicate.
Mm.
And it is really important to understand that you can say something in very different ways,
Mhm.
right? So like he talks about like him coming to me out of nowhere, just like bursting out, "Hey, I pooped my pants." And then obviously I'm gonna be like, "Excuse me, like what the heck? Like what's going on?" Like, um, being kind of like attacking and being like, "Ew, like you're a grown man, like what are you doing?" Or taking me through this, like, "Hey, babe, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know how you're gonna take it." Like kind of start prepping me for these things. And then, you
Mhm.
know what? I poop my pants.
She says that as a joke.
Yes,
It's an
Yeah.
example
like
that I give.
it hasn't happened, but just
Just to give context, it's
I didn't
funny.
think it.
context.
I didn't think so. I'm just listening. I'm like, okay.
You're like Moses. No, no, he hasn't pooped his pants, but it's kind of just like a picture that we
Yeah.
we give people so that they know, listen, you could be trying to communicate, but you're probably doing it wrong. So that's why we took it up on ourselves to start teaching not just couples, but even like divorced couples, even single people, because they still need to learn to communicate. Like our generation says let's communicate but doesn't know how, or doesn't
Mhm.
know how to do it properly. So I had to learn myself to communicate with him in a better way, because all I would do was yell, or be defensive, or everything that we do as human beings. And
Mhm.
then he couldn't come to me. He held space for me, but I never held space for him. So that was a thing that I really had to learn to do, that I needed to put myself in his shoes and be like, "Hey, he's not trying to hurt you. Like you're the person he wants to come to, and you're being a dragon that he needs to slay
Mhm.
because he can't talk to you." You know what I mean? And I would be like, "You need to tell me, you need to communicate with me." But I wasn't giving him the space to do that. So learning to do that for him as well kind of just
Mhm.
made our whole relationship like another level. And we started talking about everything, Angelina, like
Mhm.
everything we could possibly talk about. Even to this day, people get weirded out. Like our own family is like, "You guys are 24/7 together. Like, what can you possibly still be talking about?" And I'm like, "Everything." Like our package just got delivered to the wrong house. We're talking about it.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know what I mean? Like little things, big things, our emotions, our feelings, what we're going through. I don't understand his job at times, but he still talks about it. And I listen. Um, he talks about wrestling all the time now. And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." Like, I become involved and he becomes
Mhm.
involved in my crazy shows that I watch. But it's just that, like, leveling up your communication and learning how to do that with each other.
Mhm.
That is a game changer in itself.
Yep.
Wow, wow. And so navigating this whole new like relationship idea for yourselves, because again, coming from, lacking something and hoping to fulfill it within this relationship, you've now evolved and learned, okay, no, this is just more, and I really do have feelings invested in this person, and I'm building a family with this person. So we want it to last. And so communication is starting to become a strength. When did you start sensing that there was purpose in all of this?
I believe when, um, to give, I guess, an exact date would be mainly a year, the summer of 2021 for me.
Mhm,
Um, I I just realized that I was in a very dark cloud, me personally.
mhm,
I did what every kind of, I guess, guru would say out there. Oh, you need to be active, you need to work out, you need to read books, listen to podcasts, so on and so forth. And I was doing all that stuff in the midst of everything that I was dealing with,
yeah,
and it just didn't seem to work. And that was a surface level work. It wasn't until I took the time to really sit to really think like, why do I keep going down this path? Why do I
mhm,
keep going down this cycle? Because it was a cycle, and at
mhm,
that point, I just grew tired of it. It's I did everything that everybody else was telling me to, and it hasn't worked. I'm still in this depression state and
mhm,
dealing with this addiction and so on and so forth. And I took the time to really get down to the root of it. What I mean by root of it is, where did all of this come from?
mhm,
Why did I develop certain emotions? Where did this cycle come from? Why am I not happy when I should be? Why can't I enjoy it? Spending time with the kids, spending time with her, so on and so forth. And I realized it all came rooted down to what happened to me was when I was a kid, and how that kind of transpired and evolved as I was growing up. The way that I put it is, as a child, you learned all the emotions, right? You learned happiness, sadness, anger, all that stuff, and sometimes in manners that no child should learn them through. However, they happen, right? And life just continues to happen. In some instances, just add salt to the wound, and they remind you of that feeling that you don't want to feel again.
mhm,
Um, so I took the time to again meet that little boy, see what he was missing, and just let him know, hey, I got you. And that transformed our relationship. That's when I started, like, we came to the realization of her past as well, because I
mhm,
learned to deal with my past. I saw myself for who I truly am, and how that affected me. It got me to the point of being like, hey, if this happened to me, I wonder what happened to her,
mhm,
because she was also a little girl before. So I was like, that kind of helped. It led me to help her heal herself and put her in a position to heal. And that just coming together as well in the healing journey, it was kind of, it made our relationship better. And now we're seeing the world around us, going back to what I believe we mentioned early on in this conversation is, the reason why we want to help relationships is because we all came from one.
mhm.
Literally, no, us three here talking, none of us would be here if it wasn't because of a relationship. So we all
Absolutely.
have that common denominator in our life, that we all came from a relationship, and that relationship, whether there was one or not,
Mhm,
affected us in many more ways than we thought. And just seeing how the divorce rate has gone up, a lot of couples don't want to have kids anymore. They don't want to get married. Some people don't want to even be in a relationship because they don't want to go through the struggle.
mhm,
Um, that has to do a lot with their upbringing, right? And I
mhm,
know there's societal and cultural stuff that also gets involved in there, but the biggest influence is their programming when they were growing up, the environment that they grew up in. We love that our kids want to be in a relationship, right? Right now,
mhm,
me as a father, because my our three little girls are between the ages of 2 and 8, and they're talking about having crushes and things like that. I'm like, not right now.
mhm.
But I see the seeds that have already been planted, that once they grow up, because they saw us in our
Yeah.
relationship, they know the standards of what a healthy relationship is.
Mhm,
And selfishly also, maybe the couples that we help, they have a boy, and that boy grows up to be one of our daughter's husband. And it's like, well, because we helped that couple, that boy knew how to be a husband, a proper husband, and now we're at peace that our children, our daughters are having healthy relationships as well. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, like we talk so much or we hear so much about having generational curses, right? Like generational
Mhm.
curses.
you know,
And we are like, you know what? Let's start doing generational healing because
Got
that is what we need. That's the solution for that. Like, yeah, we can
it.
talk about it all we want, but we need to start, acting on it. And what better than just healing the generation now so that it just, a whole cycle of good things start happening in the
Yeah.
future for our kids, for their kids, and, more kids and all in the world.
yep.
Yeah, I love it. You've said so much that I want to kind of unpack a little bit. So one, starting with generational, healing, it all starts with you. So like Moses, even in just your immediate family there, you had to stop and realize like you weren't in a right place. And
Hmm.
what was that barrier? And the thing you said is, if this happened to me, I wonder what happened to her. And I work with children in child welfare, and I work with families and stuff. And that's the question we should be asking people, because it's so easy to go, oh my gosh, she's such an angry person because of the behaviors or maybe the communication that's coming out of it. But the question is, what happened to her? What happened to
Hmm.
him? That's the question, because a lot of what we produce in life as far as outcomes and our reality is based off of our belief system about ourselves and the things that we go through. So I love that you said that. And yes, when we start working on ourselves, and just kind of like I said in the intro, so much changes for a person, that's their family and their community and then the generations to come. So I love that you were able to just kind of explain that um so beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah, and I love that you say that because it wasn't after I read this book. I think it was called like What Happened to You.
Yes.
Did you read? Yeah,
Yes.
because I'm gonna be completely honest, and this is how we do things. We're very raw and very vulnerable all the time. So,
Yeah.
um, I was a huge narcissist. And I feel that I became that because of what I went through.
Mhm.
Because like how I mentioned, I was always in survival mode, right? So I always had to like think about how am I going to survive? So that made me into a narcissist where I was always just thinking about me, 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 me. It wasn't until I read that book that I was like, wow, like I have no idea that other people have been through stuff too. And all I cared was like me, me, me. And I started asking that question to my loved ones. I'd be like, so what happened to you? Like, why are you this way? Like, why do you react this way when I say this? Or why do you get triggered if I do this? And so much came out of that. Like,
Mhm.
so much trauma, so much, stuff. And I was like, wow. Like, if only instead of judging people, we just ask that simple question of like what happened to you and just
Hmm.
you get to understand more.
Mm, that's true. And I mean, we're just conditioned to look at the behavior and automatically judge, okay, well, because I work with children, it's like, oh, this kid's bad based on,
Yeah.
the lying and the stealing and the running away or whatever the case may be. But it really is the lying, the stealing and the running away are just manifestations of what's really going on internally. Like
Hmm.
those are the symptoms of that internal dialogue that's going on, and the hurt, the pain and all the trauma that that child's endured. So if you ask that question, what happened to you, you're really talking to that inner child. So like Moses, you talked about, looking at that boy within yourself and saying, I got you.
Hmm.
And so that is so powerful. And I hope anybody that's listening really picks up on that, because it's so freeing when you can do that.
Yes, it is.
So,
Oh, you're amazing. Look at you. It's funny that when I did this, because he went through that whole healing journey and he put me through the same stuff, right? And
mhm,
he had me look at a picture. It was a picture of my family, my dad, my
uh-huh,
mom, and my brothers and sister. And I told him I had never like I saw that picture a million times, but that girl, I never felt like it was me.
mhm,
Like it was just another girl. And that day that he was like, look at yourself. And I saw me and I was like, that's me. And it was crazy because for the longest time, like I never saw that little girl as being me. And
mhm,
it was like we were so disconnected that like I was like, who is that girl?
Mm.
And that day it was like it's gonna sound strange, but like my soul just like came back.
wow.
And I was like, that's me. And I love me and I love her and I'm here for
Mm,
you.
mm,
And that completely changed me.
mm. And I'm going to pause a minute because I just feel the glory and all of that right there. Um, and I can relate. I can relate because like I said, myself coming from a background of childhood trauma, when I would look living in the moment as a child, I always felt like I'm not good enough. I'm not, whatever, pretty enough. It's, this, that. And even, just looking at myself in the mirror when I was an adolescent, like I never saw what a picture could capture. And if I go back as an adult and look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, why was I thinking that about myself? Because I don't see that when I look at this picture. And so it's amazing. What you just shared was just amazing. Um, so
Yeah.
I hope
You're
anybody
you're an
listening.
incredible person, Angelina. I can feel your heart and I can feel your spirit. And like even though we're in like like we're not even in person, like I
Yeah,
feel so connected to you and it's crazy because we've never met.
absolutely. And I feel the same way. That's why I have to pause because I have to recognize what's going on here. Um, yeah. So here we are, Moses Bri, you're going through all this transformation. You're in this self-discovery. You're communicating. Your relationship is starting to become stronger, healthier. How has all of that shaped you as an individual and who you are today?
Oh.
Uh, I believe for me specifically, it just became a responsibility
Mm,
where like it's gonna sound corny, but that's the best way that I can explain it is I know the secret and I will be the most selfish bastard in the world if I didn't share it with everybody else. Like, hey, I went through this. This is what I did to get better, and I help my wife now, and I'm helping other people as well, family members, friends, so on and so forth. And I just want to kind of shout it at the top of the mountains for the people who are willing to listen and share it with them. And that's where we are right now is just coming us together and seeing that like, hey, not to brag, but we have a pretty great relationship, and we don't want to keep it to ourselves because we see the impact of a healthy relationship can have generationally. Again,
yeah.
we saw the impact of a bad relationship and how that impacted us. Now we're like, okay, well, how can we transform it? It's having a healthy relationship, and we've seen the impact on it has in our children.
Mhm,
And yeah, that's where we are right
For
now.
me, it's like it's funny because I have fought this calling for the longest time, and I've been telling everybody this. Like, I literally started doing this with him in May, and it was because I went to an event with him, which he was going to speak, because he co-authored a book. It's called Surrender to Rise, and they had an event, and he was gonna go speak, and like we're literally always together, so I go with him everywhere.
mm,
And I went with him and he was like, I want you on stage with me. And I was like, So I was here thinking like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit there and like just support him like I always do. And at that
mhm,
event, God was like, girl, this is your moment. You need to join your husband.
mhm,
And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of fighting. God, like fighting you, and you keep saying this, and I'm just gonna go for it. And I went for it, and it's been a struggle for me to kind of step into that, because like I'm nervous right now, Angelina. Like I'm shaking, but I knew that he needed us to do this for families out there.
Mhm.
Families are struggling so much. And I was like, I can't be selfish. Like he said, like, we can't be selfish. Like, we know how to fix things. We know, like, the tools that you need if you do want to work on your relationship, if you do want to work on that marriage, we have them. We'll give them to you as long as you're willing to put the work, right? So it was like, it's not about me or about us anymore, because even having our whole life on social media is like nerve-wracking in itself, like it's like, oh, like we have to put everything out there, but it's like, you know what? It's no longer about us. It's about those families that are gonna get safe because of it, and those kids that are gonna have a beautiful childhood because their parents decided to do the work. So we just every day we just step into that calling, and we're like, whatever it is, like, let's go for it.
Yeah. And so as you're speaking, this is what I'm sensing and just kind of feeling in my heart and soul is, the ideology of biblical and just ministry for women is always like, the man is supposed to be the head of the household, the man is supposed to lead. But the true reflection of God is when a man and a woman come together in unity and they both
Exactly.
lead. That's when we see God's presence.
Hmm.
Because even in creation, God created man and he created woman out of man. So when we come together as a couple, that is when you see God's image in completion. So I don't know why. I don't know why I said
That,
that, but
no,
That's
yeah, and I think you're given this in your head because God is like, talk about it. And that is like, this is what we stand for. Like, we talk about, submission of a woman a lot because it's a big trigger for women right now,
mhm.
especially women being, empowered to, be independent and be this and be that. And that was me. Like, I was the most independent woman as you can, like, I have a child, I'm going to school, I'm working, I'm like, I have my own place, my own car. Like, it was like, I don't need no man.
Yep.
And that was another struggle that he had to like go through, where it was like, I wouldn't let him lead.
yeah.
It wasn't until the moment that he surrendered that I saw that this is a God-led man,
Mm,
and there is no need for me to do it by myself.
mm,
Like, I let him lead now, and I submit to, what like, he's a protector. I'm no longer mama bear.
mm,
In a sense, I'm no longer like, I need to take care of this and this and that, because I'm like, he's got it. He is being led by God, and God has never let me down. God has always had my back. And because this man follows God, I follow him.
mm. And that's beautifully said. And really that's what it's supposed to be for,
Hmm.
for us as couples. Um, good conversation, very spirit led,
Let it
spirit
out,
filled.
Angelina, let it out.
So let me ask the two of you, maybe there's a couple out there listening and they are in that in between where they are fighting for their marriage, they're fighting for their relationship, and they just don't know what that next step is for them. They could easily give up and just say, you know what, I'll start over with somebody new, but not realizing that that stuff's going to follow them into that relationship too. What
Hmm.
advice would you give that couple?
I just shared a reel on my Facebook page of like, I'm like, we're not the couple that like, we're struggling, we're, I don't know, you're annoyed with me, I'm gonna start over somewhere else. Like, we're the couple of like, if you're annoyed with me, take a nap and then come
You're
back.
tired of me taking.
Or if you're tired of me, take a
Yeah.
nap. Like, that's not a thing. That we're not just gonna start over. Um, do you wanna go? I know you wanted to say something.
Um, the biggest thing that we tell couples that we currently work with and people out there as well is do everything in your power to make your marriage win. An emphasis on your marriage winning, not you as a wife or you as a husband, not the husband in the winning or the wife winning, is your marriage. What does that mean? Like, hey, whoever is going through some stuff, maybe you need to do the work so that your marriage can win, right? It's not a competition. It's teamwork, right? It's you two against whatever challenge you may be going through together or maybe individually, right? Like we mentioned earlier, I had an addiction, she didn't. It was my issue to go through and to overcome, but she was there to help me along the way. And she didn't see it as, well, you deal with it, and if you don't, then I'm gone kind of deal. It's all
Mhm.
right, well, we're together in this, in sickness and in health. Sometimes sickness we think is just a cough and mucus down your nose. No, sometimes it's an addiction, sometimes it's something mental, sometimes it is something physical. But it's doing whatever you can to make your marriage work. And that sometimes you need to put your egos aside. I mean, your pride as well, because
I think.
yeah, because that is the big underlying, like going back to Adam and Eve, the snake that you don't see that is influencing you is sometimes your
Mhm.
pride and ego that
Mhm.
tells you like, no, he's wrong, you should leave him type deal, all that
You
stuff.
don't have to deal with
There's
this.
someone else better. This apple is going to give you all you want, so on and so forth. And
Mhm.
That was a little hand talk.
yeah, the puppets. Uh, but yeah, it's you kind of being determined, being God led, and
Yeah.
again, doing everything you can to make your marriage win.
Hmm. We always talk about we build our life around our relationship,
Yeah,
Mhm.
right? So like nothing other than God, like nothing comes first, not even our kids. Like our relationship is always first. So it's God, our relationship, our kids, and then our family and friends and everybody else. Um, because we are the foundation, right?
Mhm.
So if anything is messing up your marriage, identify it and work on it.
yep,
Do not let anything else come between you and your spouse.
Mhm.
Because if you put God first and then your relationship, I guarantee you everything else will succeed. Like your kids will see it, they'll be healthy, they'll be happy. Your family will see it, and the ones that support it will be around you, and the ones that don't will leave. And that's happened to us.
no,
Like we have a healthy relationship, and friendships and family members that we thought, like they're with us, they were like, oh, because they're triggered by it. And we're like, hey,
Mhm.
like, we're not gonna have a bad relationship just because it triggers you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna change that. So if you either you become better or like you're gonna be left behind. And
Mhm.
it's that just building our life around our relationship has done big things for us. Like we literally have, I mean, like he works from home, right?
Mhm.
I homeschool our kids. We have this podcast. We do what we want that we know that God wants for us and for everybody else.
Mhm.
And we've missed birthdays, like we've missed events, we've missed stuff that doesn't really align with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And they don't understand it, but that I mean, we can't control that, right? Like what can we do? So we're like, we love you, but we gotta keep going.
no.
Absolutely. Well, as we start coming to, wrapping our conversation up, I want to ask you a question of legacy and impact. If today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Mm.
You want me to go first?
Um, how good of a father and husband I was.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest thing, and the impact that that had. Not so much because out of love, but I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, but out of what I did to ensure that my wife and my kids had everything they needed, and that kind of transpired into their generation and their future kids, and so on and so forth. I may not see the fruits of that labor myself, but that's what purpose is for
Mhm.
me to do the work and be responsible for it for the benefit of someone who I may not know down in the future. But the fact that it will be there, that is what brings motivation and peace to me that like, hey, this is going somewhere, so just keep going.
How can I follow that? Like, it's funny because sometimes we say things and we're like so connected now that I'm like, hey, I was gonna say that. Why are you saying it for me? But yeah, like if it was my last day, I would want people to remember that I didn't take anything to the grave with me.
Mm.
That everything that I went through, everything that happened to me, that I spoke about it because being open is what heals other people.
Wow.
So just knowing that, hey, like it doesn't matter how, like it was hard and it hurt, but you opened up, you spoke about it, and it's happened already where people are like, thank you,
Mm.
because people think that they're alone. And I never want anybody to feel like they went through something alike and they were by themselves.
Mm.
So that's why we do it raw. We're like, if it's in our heart, we talk about it. And that's what I want people to know, like, hey, talk about it. It's okay. Like, we are here for you. Even if you haven't healed yet, somebody else went through it that already healed and they can help you.
Yep.
And you don't have to live with this secret for the rest of your life.
Mm. And that's so powerful because you mentioned something that the Bible does too, and that's the truth will set you free. So when you're able
Oh
to
yeah.
own the story, then you can build an awareness and then start taking responsibility of where you're at in life and make the changes as you so see fit. So I love that. My final question to the two of you is if you could leave one bit of truth or a word of encouragement to someone out there that's listening that is still trying to figure out what their purpose is, what would it be?
Don't do it alone.
Hmm.
You're not meant to do anything out there alone. Like, there's always somebody willing to help, and put yourself in a community of people that are going the way you want to go,
Mhm.
because that, I mean, not even just with our relationship but our life, that just, it helped us get to where we're at right now. So don't try to do anything that is in your heart by yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, going back to biblical stuff, God saw how lonely Adam was, so he was like, "All right, I'll create a woman because he cannot do this alone." So I agree. It's not doing it alone, seeking whatever help you need out there, being brave enough to do so, and you'll just see just putting yourself in a position to be better, get around the proper environments for you to grow. That is going to do wonders for you. And yes, it will not be easy. It will be challenging, but if you go through that challenge with someone pulling you, you're going to get through it, and you'll see the benefits of it afterwards.
Beautiful. And then I'm going to take a moment just to be obedient and reference scripture from the Bible. It's Job 2, verse 28, and it says, afterward, I pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. And what this is saying is that God's anointing on both male and female are equally powered to lead, speak, and dream under his spirit. So those that are listening out there know it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. When you come under God's anointing, you are equally measured and can go out and speak and lead, and especially when we're doing it as a couple. So feel
Exactly.
empowered in knowing that. All
Yeah.
right, my beautiful friends, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you and said, hey, I want to learn more from you, or whatever, work with you, where could they get in contact with you?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like they can, our socials, we are on Facebook. Obviously, we are Bri Rico, Moises Rico. We have a podcast called Doing It Raw Relationship Goals. It's on YouTube, and it's soon going to be on Roku on the Prospera TV Network. I think in a few weeks it's about to start, airing. And we're excited. My husband, like I said, he co-authored a book. It's called Surrender to Rise, King's Edition. And it's all about surrendering to God. And there's a Queen's edition too. So like this was the men telling their story of their moment of surrender. And I love to brag about him because he's just incredible. And sometimes he doesn't know it. So I have to remind him. But yeah, anywhere else?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, it's doing it raw Bri, and my end is doing it raw Rico. Yeah, feel free to reach out, and
We're
we're
here
putting up
for
the book.
you.
Yeah.
Like, send us a message. Well, I message really quick.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Bree and Moses. I want to thank you for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. Conversations like this remind us that purpose isn't about perfection, it's about showing up and growing through the things that we go through and trusting that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every person has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So, friend, wherever you are today, remember you have purpose and it is powerful, and you're not walking alone. So, until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, and keep walking boldly in the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, and a blessing. Welcome back.